Today, I want to talk about that basic first human psychological need that we have, and that is for certainty. Children are great by their very nature, and we have the privilege and responsibility of raising them. It can be challenging at times. Let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Cynthia Armstrong. I'm a general and special education teacher. I homeschooled my own children for 5 years, and I talk about the things I've studied, researched, applied, that have worked for me and my children and my students, and that I share with you in the hopes that it can help you as well. Today, I'm talking about a little deeper about that first psychological need that all people have, whether we're adults or children, and that is certainty. And if we look at certainty a little deeper, we can call it safety. We could call it comfort. We could give some other definitions of to that certainty. And I like to talk about certainty first because it plays a part in all the other psychological needs. If we weren't sure that we could meet those other psychological needs, and then we wouldn't put in the effort to meet them. And so that certainty, that surety, that comfort, and also kind of control, if we didn't have that, then all of the other needs we couldn't meet. We wouldn't put in the effort to meet them. But if we think about children, then we look at infants. They have no ability to take care of themselves in any manner. And so we develop that certainty as our parents, as our family, as whoever our caregiver may be, comforts us and cares for us and helps us to meet our physical needs. Then that helps us to develop that beginning of certainty in meeting our psychological needs. And when we look at all the different statistics, if we look at different research out there, like the children in Romania, in the orphanages there, and how they had food, they had clothing, they had shelter, but they were still dying, and they couldn't figure out why. And it took a little bit to realize it's because we have psychological needs that need to be met too. And that certainty, which is that comfort and that safety, and some of the later ones, which then lead to connection and those kind of ones, that it has to be there. Without that, things just fall apart in our lives. And so as we get older, we have often developed reliance on other people to meet that certainty, that safety, that control, that comfort for us. And it really, really helps us to begin to meet those needs ourselves and not need our children to behave a certain way, or our spouse to use certain language or a way of communicating with us. And so this need is a very basic one. And we learn from infancy to meet it externally. And it's that switching to meeting it internally that really helps us to just excel in life, to find joy and happiness, and to be able to meet some of those other needs. In another research that was done, they have discovered that neglect is more harmful on children than physical abuse. and their psychological development. Because if we think about it, children who hit siblings or children who are physically aggressive, they are able to meet their needs to some little bit of extent that feeds their brain. And so when we look at it, if a parent or an outside person is abusing a child, there's still physical contact. There is significance. There's still things that are meeting very minimally the needs of the brain. But when there's neglect, when there's no input, there's not a development or even an unhealthy way of meeting the needs, those psychological needs. And so it wasn't surprising when I found that research that neglect is so much more harmful in the long-term psychological development of people than is physical abuse. And so when we really think about that, I think of another research that showed the hysteria. No, wasn't quite hysteria, but there was a large concern around switching to bottles. We had formula come out, and we could give our infants bottles, so we didn't have to nurse them, or we don't have to spend that time. We could go out with our spouse and our child could still get the nourishment they need. And what they were finding is that the children weren't developing like they used to. And so there was a little bit of a, oh no, bottles are unhealthy, formula is really bad for you. And there was this big to-do around that. But then they found out it wasn't the bottles, it wasn't formula, it wasn't those things. It was that now we could give the baby the bottle and prop up the bottle, and we can finish the dishes or go potty or whatever it was that we were doing. And so the children weren't gazing at an adult's face while they were eating. And there's so much interaction, so much learning that just happens. We don't do it on purpose. We don't say, okay, I'm going to teach my child this. It's just an automatic connection that happens. And there's a lot around that of meeting those needs, of being able to learn of that certainty there. And again, that certainty then feeds in to all of the other needs. So it's not just certainty, but it starts there. And if we look today, there's another kind of little drop in things that are happening for our children. And so if you look and consider some of the things that might be happening, we go, oh, that's what's happening. So, if we're nursing our baby, or even if we're feeding them with a bottle, because again, it's not the bottle or formula or whether you pump or not, it's that gazing and the looking at our infant and them looking and gazing back that fires all kinds of things. So what is it like for a baby to, whether it's bottle or breastfed, to then see this, right? So if I'm not looking at my baby, but I'm looking at my phone and I'm scrolling through social media, or responding to somebody at work, or doing anything like that, or even if I'm staring at the TV, there's not a connection being made with our child, where that look in the eyes that fires neurons, that teaches, again, those things we're not even aware that we're teaching, and that certainty that is there with that then leads to variety. If we're making faces or doing things, that leads to that connection, that love, that feeling of love. And so as you look at helping, as meeting that need for our children as they're younger, and then helping them to develop that independently as they get older, how important it is to simply to be aware and remember that children are great by their very natures, and we have that privilege and that responsibility to raise them. Hi friends, Cynthia Armstrong here. Thanks for joining us today. Please make sure that you subscribe to our channel so you can see when new videos come out, and like this one. It is such a responsibility and a challenge to raise great kids, and we are here to help you along that journey to make it as enjoyable and fun and fulfilling as possible. Please check out our website, www.raisinggreatkids.net, and I will leave that in the description below.